Hello and welcome to Super Switch Heads, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet and not on the internet.
Yeah.
I am Patrick Nisley. Here with me
is Matthew Stoner.
My name is David Howe.
And I am Kate Ludlow.
Oh,
Hey.
what's up, Kate Ludlow?
Hey,
How's it
Kate
going?
Ludlow.
Very
Special
special
guest.
Look at that, Jinx.
Buy me a Coke.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Kate is from Devolver Digital. You are the Spec Ops person at Devolver Digital. Thank you very much for coming on the show today.
You're very welcome. Those are all things I told you 5 minutes ago, and I'm glad you remember them.
Your
But
name.
I nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed the name. Cool. So we're going to talk about what that means in a little bit. But as usual, we'll go through some news first, right? Does anybody have anything they want to talk about before we do that? Anything going on in your life?
No. Yeah. I mean, no. I'm fine. I got first place in Tetris 99 today.
Oh my god!
So that felt pretty good.
I have some things we'll talk about when we discuss our ending segment about what we're playing.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been playing some games.
That's it.
I'm
eager to jump into the news, Patrick.
Let's jump into the news.
Let's jump right in.
We got a lot of
right
things. I'm going to move through it quickly. The Nintendo investor meeting that happened a while back, finally they released the full English translation. So every news, video game news journalist is now turning that into articles. Mm-hmm. And
the gathering of the shareholders.
Yes.
Which anytime anybody says that, I think they're going to be talking about the gathering of the juggalos.
Oh yeah.
Every single time. We'll cut that out.
One of the things that Chris McKeever, shout out to him because he posted one of these articles that people created based on these notes. They talked about how they want to create a new controller that revolutionizes or sort of a next gen future controller. Did you guys see or read anything about this?
Yeah, they were basically saying they wanted to like set the bar for controllers going forward in the future or something like that.
Yeah, and to be more intuitive or something, like almost like sounded to me like the Kinect or something, like where you move and it moves or something. I don't know.
Sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of push to go to more adaptive kind of controllers so that our disabled friends and such can play as well. I would kind of hope that we would see something like that out of it.
I would love it, but Nintendo doesn't seem to be thinking about that.
Well,
whenever people ask them about, they're like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Well, I mean,
they don't let you remap buttons on all their games,
right.
And they're, but hopefully that is true.
I think that there's an argument to be made that they already have it with the Joy-Cons, right? Like
you can swing them around.
Yeah, well, like for instance, like you're talking about like accessibility and stuff like that. Like I was recently in the hospital, and like having split Joy-Cons made my life a lot easier.
2 hands.
Honestly. Yeah. You know, I was able to like kind of lay in a position that was comfortable for me and still play and not have to like kind of hunch over or anything like that. So I think maybe they could just be referring to the Joy-Cons as of right now. Like the idea of basically like, because I think they kind of did that with the Wii, right? I think they popularized like 2-handed controls.
Right.
And now we see that in like everything in VR uses kind of split controllers like that. So maybe that's what they're referring to.
I'll say this here too. We love to talk about this, but they're also just answering investor. And
99% is
and so they're just like responding to these questions. But
I would say it would be great if we had an accessible controller for all. Like Microsoft has
Microsoft's leading
their
the
accessible
Xbox adaptive,
which
is great.
It's incredible.
I hope that that's setting a standard, and if nothing else, I hope that it's at least leading a conversation that these are things that we should be focused more towards, because Nintendo's shown that they can come up with some of the technology that's going to do those things. And maybe we're still a few years out, but like as long as we're all kind of keeping it in the back of our minds, hopefully the front of our minds, like that's going to be great.
Trendsetters.
So they're asked about how they're going to combat next gen systems coming out, and they talk about how they're just really trying to get their install base up. That just makes sense. This is their chance. People are buying Switches right now, and if there's so many of them, people are going to have to put their games on the Switch.
Love the Switch.
And David. So there was a question sort of about cloud streaming, 5G, VR, and we were talking about this a little bit before, but I'm going to let you state what you understood some people's take to be, and then I'm going to argue that I think that's wrong.
Well, this has kind of popped up. Yeah, we were talking about this. You disagree with this, but a lot of news stories popped up over the past like few days as translations from this gathering of the Juggalos came out, and basically Nintendo was asked like why they've fallen behind on certain issues like VR and network stuff, and Miyamoto basically responded by saying, we haven't fallen behind. We've done a considerable amount of testing and we have done what our customers want. That's what the news articles have kind of been reporting. You have a different spin on it.
Well, they've been spinning it as it's like, we're talking about the online services, which I don't think that's what he's talking about there.
What do you think he's talking about?
I think he's talking about cloud gaming, really, and about like those kinds of technologies. But I can see the argument being made, but that's not what the question asked. So a lot of people are reporting it that way. And it's like when you hear somebody report on something and then when you go read the thing itself, sometimes you're like, you're making leaps in logic that I'm not making. You know what I mean?
Sure. And then everybody kind of lemmings off of the last article that was written and then kind of goes into whatever.
That's my opinion. I could be wrong. If you are listening and you disagree.
Either way, I think it is a little uncouth for Miyamoto of all people to be like, Nintendo's online is great because it's not, and everybody knows it.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that premise. I'm disagreeing with that. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, but maybe something was lost in translation there. Something that they did talk about though is that they were actively looking at 5G, which I think is interesting. Yes. I think some sort of like next gen Switch that utilizes 5G network would be great. I mean, it didn't work out so well for the PS Vita when they did the 3G thing. They thought that was going to like revolutionize handheld gaming, and that did not happen. In fact, it was just way more expensive and nobody bought it. But 5G is on the horizon, so it's smart of them to be abreast of that kind of shit.
They were also asked about the Mari mobility thing we talked about before.
I still find that so humorous.
So I just wanted to bring that up because it is funny.
Are you familiar with the Mari car thing?
I am actually not.
Yeah,
so.
it's like some offshoot, or it's like not even an offshoot of Nintendo. It's just like a random company that basically has people dress up as Nintendo characters and ride around on go-karts through the streets of Tokyo.
I love that.
Nintendo has sued them like 5 times.
Because they use the name Mari Car and they look like the carts from Mario Kart.
Yeah,
well, I guess one could argue that there's some like liability.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what the question at this investors meeting was like, isn't there a liability issue for us if these people get in wrecks and they're like, we tried. It's up to the police to enforce the laws, you know. So
Nintendo v. the Japanese police.
Fast and the Marius. I love it.
Very good.
So Nintendo put out this. We're moving on from the investor meeting. Yeah. They put out there was a bunch of sales info that came out about other small things about different regions, but we live in North America, and they listed the top 30 digital game sales, or downloads, I should say, because Fortnight is the number one, for June of this year. And I just there's some interesting stuff on here. Shout out to you, Kate. My friend Pedro is number 15.
Yeah. My friend Pedro. I'm so incredibly proud to have helped with that game.
That's your most successful game so far, right? Did I read that right?
Can't confirm nor deny because I don't exactly know the numbers, but that is in June, right? Is amazing.
Yeah.
I believe it's 250,000 copies in 7 days.
That's great.
Made by one very nice man in Sweden. Shout out to Victor.
Yeah.
That
Victor,
game is
active listener of Super Switch Head.
He's incredible. He could not have happened to a nicer guy. He invented the pan shot before the Coen brothers did, actually. So
wow.
We might actually be suing the Coen brothers, but no, we will not.
No, you don't want to burn that bridge. Yeah. I hear they're getting into games.
We want the Coen brothers. We would love to make the Coen brothers the video game, but yeah, no, it like the what I think is so incredible, and I don't mean to sidetrack with Devolver business right now, but I love the gifting tech. Like, it's like you're getting to be in a room and you do something in a video game and there's nobody in the room watching because you're playing by yourself.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's just like this very easy way to be like, you know what? Put it on Twitter. Let me show everybody that incredible move that I just did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's a fun way to stay connected, but also play this really cool game by yourself.
Yeah. And I actually the other day my friend came over and he had my friend Pedro on a Switch and he plugged it in and just like it was me, my friend Jeremy, my girlfriend, and my sister were all there. We were all just like glued to the screen. It's just like such an active watching experience. It's like so fun. You're just like showing off the whole time you play that game.
But other than that, it's also been a pretty big month for.
Well, before we move on, number 30 on the list, Katana Zero.
Yeah, still up there.
That game is just it's almost like drugs. It's so beautiful. The colors, the sound, it all came together incredibly well. Another one I'm super proud to have been a very small part of. And yeah, Justin Stander, who is a Canadian developer, worked on that game for at least 5 years. It's his life's work. And he's like the sound designer on that game. I don't know if she's fully credited as sound designer, but like she's at least worked on the sound. Erica Hampson, she's like one of the main devs of Enter the Gungeon. So it's very it was a Devolver game, like, of course.
Yeah, cool. That's great.
So just quick interesting things. NBA 2K19 is on there as number
two, baby.
Because of the giant sale.
Well, it was $3.
Yeah, because of the sale. It worked. It was the second most downloaded game.
And then Breath of the Wild was back up there.
Breath of the Wild is number 10.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
That was the first game my kids started playing when I got them their Switches. And then suddenly they got into a bunch of other stuff. And then like one day they just picked it back up and Breath of the Wild was the thing again.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. I imagine a lot of it too is like from E3, like seeing the sequel being announced. Like it definitely
like, I should have played that by now and I haven't. Yeah, there's a sequel coming.
Well, yeah, good for Breath of the Wild, man. That's an underrated game.
I think it's an exactly rated game. Like it gets all the accolades and it totally deserves it. It's beautiful. And if you were as a small child, I was such a Nintendo fangirl. And it's one of those ones that kind of made you fall in love with Nintendo all over again.
It reminded me of the first time I played Ocarina of Time.
Yep.
Just like going through that big ass field.
The Breath of the Wild sequel, Nintendo tweeted out that they are hiring for a couple positions for the Breath of the Wild sequel. So we love to speculate because we have no idea when this game is coming about what that means. Does that mean they're far along? Does that mean that they're replacing people? Are these important jobs? We don't know. But throw that in the mix. They're hiring a 3D graphics animator and a level designer. And my understanding from people that can read Japanese is that it talks about dungeon design or something too, or maybe does. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of speculation. But,
maybe it is.
Either way,
I can't read the Japanese.
I would assume it would be for dungeon stuff or like specific like areas of the game. They're using the same overworld, right? So it's like. I still think we're on track for a 2020 holiday release.
It doesn't. Neither of these sound like they're hiring a new producer.
Yeah, it's not like Retro, right? Retro is like, we need a director of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just sitting over here with my publisher, it's just twitching. I'm like, the game will be ready when it's ready. Everyone, calm down. Let them make it
now. No, holiday 2019.
I think that we should unequivocally state we're obviously pro-consumer in a lot of ways, but we want a game to be done, and we want it to take its time. And we don't like crunch, and we don't like any of that.
Super Switch is officially anti-crunch.
Yes, exactly. We are officially anti-crunch. And you know what else we are officially anti is like bullying a girl for beating somebody in a Smash tournament.
That is our official stance.
Yeah.
So when I said I'd only heard of two of these news stories, this was the first one that came to mind when I saw this. This is so ridiculous.
Yeah. I just wanted to we were talking about whether this is newsworthy or not, but I just wanted to make sure we got on the record of saying we want more female representation in gaming. And we all feel that way, and we're against
basically, like, just to explain to people, the idea here was like that this girl came in, she'd been playing Smash a lot, but not necessarily at the competitive level.
And this was at a New York local
right. Came in and beat like one of the mainstays that has been dominating like at all of these tournaments, and then all of a sudden it was like Gamergate all over again, and she just had like a ton of cyberbullying online. Which is just ridiculous. And you'd think that we'd be past this at this point, but gamers somehow find a way to persist.
Thankfully, there was some positive comments too, and she acknowledged that. But yes, we want more equal representation of all people in gaming.
Well, that's exactly it. We want more gamers. We want more people that, if you're a person that plays Candy Crush on your phone, you're a gamer.
Yeah. Right.
You're of us.
Yeah.
So I'm raising an 11-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son, and it's such an interesting dichotomy to see how the world treats both of those kids. My 11-year-old daughter would march into here with a sword and take care of anybody she thought was like wronging somebody. Metaphorical, of course.
Right. Sure.
But like, I'm terrified because now that she's, more online and she's playing more games, I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
When I don't even think about it as if she gets her moment of the online bullying. It's like when and how do we deal with it? So I think that this young woman should be absolutely applauded for being a total badass.
Mm-hmm. Also with a character that most people don't think is very good in the game.
With
too.
Isabel.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, like
she single-handedly kind of maybe changed the tier list.
The Isabel meta. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and one of the things is like, I can't believe that, it's 2019 and we're sitting here and this is where we're still at. Like, we're going to make fun of a little girl because she did well at video games.
Yeah.
Just come on.
It's
no
really
more
odd.
gatekeeping.
Everybody grow up. Yeah, no more gatekeeping. Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect statement.
And I think it's the kind of stuff that we all like would hope or assume that we would be beyond by this point. And it's sad to see that we're not in a lot of ways, but I think it just like proves that it's a fight that's still worth fighting.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I'll also say that like working in the industry, I come across a number of, and I'm going to say dudes, I come across a number of amazing men who, like the Swords of Ditto guys. The biggest compliment was that I took their booth art and put it in my daughter's bedroom and like decorated her bedroom with all the little warriors from that game.
Wow.
So I don't think that we're faced with as many of these terrible people that we think we are. I just think that they have a huge microphone.
Yeah, they're very loud.
So they can say really terrible things and it becomes really loud. But I think in our day-to-day operations, we're a lot kinder and a lot nicer and a lot more welcoming. Because I've stood in a million booths and I've seen the way that people react to little girls walking up and wanting to play their game. So I think that we're actually okay. And I think that if we all stop giving these people microphones, I think we're going to do a lot better.
We should delete Twitter.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. I was kind of curious about what your perspective on being in the industry was. But while we're talking about women in Smash, I'm
quite a transition.
I'm on it, man. The Shantae 5 like opening cinematic came out, and she looks out a window that looks like the Smash icon. You guys,
I saw that.
Also, that looks like a pirate ship window. Yeah. But
I would argue that every window looks like the Smash logo. Okay.
Well, any circular window, yeah. Me too. But so this came out, and there's a segment in it where she looks out this window, and it does look like the Smash icon. But and that might even be what they're referencing because she's in Smash. She's a spirit.
Right.
But so that of course got people talking about, is she the next DLC character? And probably not. But I do hope that the next DLC characters are women.
Yeah,
we're talking about Smash. We need more women characters in Smash too.
They've added quite a few into Smash Ultimate, which is good.
Yes.
I think they should keep it up. But it's like Shantae would just be an awesome fighter.
Yeah,
right. Like the hair whip would be like a really cool move. Like, and she's just been around since the Game Boy Color. You know what I mean? Like, she's definitely part of the gaming lexicon, and I think deserves a spot. I'd love to see that.
Right before we started recording, Nintendo announced the NES games for July of this. So we now have Donkey Kong 3.
Donkey Kong 3.
Yeah, why do you say that with a question mark?
Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong
Objectively
3.
the best Donkey Kong game.
Yeah.
And Wrecking Crew. Am I right here?
Yeah, Wrecking
I'm
Crew
looking at y'all because
Really?
we just looked at this.
Wrecking Crew or Gentrification Simulator.
Mario is destroying affordable housing.
Yeah, exactly.
I was engrossed in that conversation with my Uber driver. I had no clue.
It just happened, and there are also games that I will play for 2 minutes.
There's also a rewind feature coming to NES games. So it takes maybe snapshots of your gameplay, so you can rewind to different moments of your game. So if you die, you can rewind maybe a couple seconds.
Yeah.
In all these old brutal NES games.
Yeah. This is the most exciting news of this podcast for sure.
Yeah, it's terrible. Just give us more recent games.
Give us SNES, dude. I want SNES. All I want is SNES.
The Pokemon game had a new trailer where you can't just Dynamax some of these Pokemon. Some of them you can Gigantamax.
Yes. You got to really sell it. You can't just Dynamax. You can Gigantamax.
They're even bigger.
I always just wonder if the Ingress people are like jumping onto these new trends, or if they're just sitting over there with their like sad little factions. And, I was green, so
you played Ingress?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love the concept, and I actually don't even, as a business move, mind what they did with that. It's like they had Ingress and Niantic like data farm the whole thing out, and they just slapped the skin onto it.
It's incredible,
and it's brilliant. And now they're doing it with Harry Potter. I think it.
Is it
Harry
the same
Harry Potter?
same
Harry
map
Potter.
skin or whatever? You know, like
it's pretty much the same.
Still
Yeah,
using the Google API, right?
yeah.
Gotcha.
The only thing about the Pokemon Go is that it doesn't. Some of the Ingress spots were a little bit more off the beaten path, so they didn't put Pokemon stops there.
Gotcha.
But when I started playing, I was right at the end of the height of it. I jumped on the bandwagon a little bit late. So you weren't getting new stops approved as much unless they were huge, like a new library has been built, and that would do it.
Right.
But yeah, it was data farming from that. And then, I just kind of kids and I stopped playing. But so I haven't checked in on Ingress in a while, but like,
Is this still going?
it's still
Yeah,
going.
it's still playing.
Yeah, you can still play it. A lot of people like quit out of protest, and then I think that we all also kind of all simultaneously aged out of the system.
Yeah.
You didn't have time to get in your car and drive around until 2 a.m. and sit at a Waffle House and wait for your, your stuff to charge up and everything.
I remember using Ingress as a point to find Pokemon in Pokemon Go because they had all the little blue floating dots.
Oh, that's pretty amazing.
They would be in one central location, and you would know that there would be a Pokemon there because they're data points. They're the same
they
data
shared
points.
them. Yeah,
and you would just go to that spot, and I would get an Eevee or whatever.
Well, either way, there are enormous Pokemon now, and that's the world we live in.
Yeah, so there's enormous Pokemon in Sword and Shield, even bigger than we thought.
So not only do they get bigger, but they also change.
Yeah, when they're really big. Like that strawberry cream one is now a cake.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is insane.
But you can only see it on your phone still, right?
Well, no, this is
Like they haven't actually laid
this
down
is-
hologramic.
Well, this is like
holographic
for the Switch
coins.
game.
Yeah.
This is
the
for the
Switch game that's coming out
Okay.
later.
I'm sure they'll work it into.
Yeah, they'll figure out a
Go
way.
eventually.
Put it-
Gigantamaxing, though. That's an amazing word.
It really is. It's got a lot of big stuff in it.
I can't wait for enormalized Pokemon.
Even bigger.
Enormous.
Enormous.
Also exclusive to Sword and Shield are like some of the gym leaders. So if you need another reason to be outraged about Sword and Shield, you can use that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, gamers, put your energy at dissing Pokemon Sword and Shield rather than fighting against 15-year-old girls.
Yes.
Or just remember that they're all video games and you don't have to be outraged by any of them. We're all here to have fun.
There was an interview with Luigi 3's, the Luigi's Mansion 3 producer, and what I wanted to talk about here was they said that there was going to be 17 hotel floor levels, which we don't know how big the levels are. That's great. And in this interview, it's from GameSpot. You can look it up if you want. They talk about working with Nintendo, and that was interesting. But they also said that they're not going to do DLC. I mean, I don't think they said it that definitively, but they're like, we don't really have a reason to do DLC. So
yeah, they're just trying to pack everything into the game.
That's cool. They're making a story, and they want that story to stand alone. So it's nice to hear something like that.
I'm really pulling for that Airbnb DLC.
Airbnb DLC.
Luigi's Airbnb.
A lot of people are pulling away from DLC because like they don't want to just keep pulling the wallet out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just sell it and be done, and maybe there's a couple of updates, and you're gonna get like another sales bump when you do the update.
Right.
So
The Game of the Year edition or whatever.
yeah.
But Tetris 99 is getting its second DLC. It looks like it's going to be an offline multiplayer, which we don't really know how that's going to work. I'm kinda
We
confused
got an
about
idea.
it. You have an idea?
It's up to 8 players.
8 players.
Is what it said. But that's locally, and everybody has to own the DLC.
yeah, I was gonna say, is that couch?
Yeah,
co-op?
it's not on one system.
Right. It's everybody on their own systems, which
That's
no
a
one.
super niche thing.
Yeah, barely anyone is buying Tetris 99. You know what I mean? Like, this is a game that people are playing for free because of the. Are you gonna? Did you buy the DLC?
I bought the DLC.
Okay, wow.
Tetris is my most favorite video game
same,
of all time.
same.
I'll buy anything that they put out.
See, I haven't bought the DLC because I have Puyo Puyo Tetris, which already has like competitive,
that's cute, yeah.
like local Tetris. You know what I mean? So it's like for me, and it's like, and I don't want to play offline against bots. Like I'll just play something else if I don't have an internet connection. You know? What
Yeah.
I mean? But it's like, But that having been said, I do think it's going to be hard to find 8 people that all
Yeah.
own the DLC to Tetris 99.
that you know.
Right. That are like local and your friends and want to come over to your house.
I am kind of the rare gamer. I have a lot of friends, and we do like
Wow.
yeah.
All right, well, maybe I'll get the DLC. And
I'm a
invite me
gaming
over to
girl,
a
and I
party.
have friends. You know, it's
They want to play
amazing.
Tetris locally was what I was amazed by.
So, well, I haven't convinced them to play Tetris
Gotcha.
yet. Like that was the next step. But like they like coming to my house for video game parties, so I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna convince them.
One thing that might sell more Tetris DLC is that they are putting out a physical version, at least in some regions, that will have all the DLC on it.
Right, and it comes with 12 months of Nintendo Online.
Which I think
cool.
will be arguably a deal. Depending on how you look at that.
I think it's cool. I mean, it's something for collectors.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like the game proved to be way more successful than I think they thought it was going to
Yeah,
be.
absolutely.
And so that's great. I love seeing all the support for it. And then also this weekend is that third
right.
or fifth Maximus Cup. Is
That's
that right?
correct. It's the 5th one. It's the Splatoon 2 crossover.
That's
I
this
saw
weekend.
they've shown footage of what the skin looks like that you can get if you get 100 points.
It looks really nice. I cannot wait to get that Splatoon skin.
I'm super surprised, though I get it, that there's no, when you get like a clear line or get a Tetris, that there isn't like an ink splash. But that
that'd be
might
cute.
be
You just can't
distracting.
please some
That'd be a
people.
cute idea.
I just thought there would be. I was like, oh, okay.
So Patrick, you want extra?
I'm really
more
upset
ink
about
splashes.
You have to wait for the Ink Splash DLC.
He wants like 40 designers to have to go back into the shop and just like create the ink
I'm going to
splash.
create some outrage
Start
about
a
it.
hashtag.
MoreinkSplash.com. Hashtag moreinkSplash.com.
DLC, speaking of DLC, Fire Emblem DLC, the Fire Emblem Three Houses game, they announced what the DLC is going to be. There's like 4 DLC things. There's like some costumes you get now, some like items and costumes you will get later this year, and then some like extra missions and stuff. And then what people are speculating about, sounds interesting, is that they promised that by April of next year there will be something more substantial. And there's some people theorizing that it might be more like Torna.
Like Xenoblade.
sort of thing.
Xenoblade.
As you point to me as the Xenoblade expert.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So
That's exciting.
just talking about Xenoblade is exciting.
He's like rubbing his foot very aggressively. He's like, Xenoblade. It's amazing.
So we'll see what happens with that. We probably won't know for a while, but also, so there is something in Paris. In Paris, they have something called the Japan Expo, where I guess all the French people that love Japan celebrate Japanese culture, and they had some of the people from the new Fire Emblem game there from is it Intelligent Systems?
Yeah.
It doesn't. They were there, and they interviewed them, and one of the directors of the game, I'm not sure of his exact title, said that it took him 80 hours for one playthrough, which my understanding from talking to Fire Emblem people is that's a lot longer than traditional Fire Emblem games. And people thought that originally were thinking this game might be shorter because it's got the 3 houses and was maybe going to focus on shorter but more replayable.
Well, they talked about
we'll
how it's like, because all the stuff they showed like at the kind of university or the Hogwarts of this game or whatever, right?
Yeah, the school.
Like that's early on in the game, and then
Right.
it has like a 5-year time jump or something
Right,
like that.
exactly.
So it's like, so apparently, like first impressions have been coming through. Like they had a preview event recently in New York, or no, in California somewhere, and people have been talking about the game so far, and they're just saying, like, people that are big Fire Emblem fans that I've been hearing online are saying that this game is looking really good, and that it's fucking meaty.
Unsurprisingly, picking a different house results in a different ending. That was another thing that came out of this.
So you can play 80 hours 3 times.
Yeah, 200 hours or whatever that is. This one was interesting. This just happened like today, the day we're recording this. Netflix is apparently adapting Cuphead into a television show.
That does not surprise me at all.
Yeah, me
So
either.
if there's any video game that deserves to be a show,
It totally makes
100%.
sense.
Netflix has also been making some really crazy, like bold risks with their content.
and making video games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is
so I think this is a great crossover. I'm super excited to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, part of that news, Cuphead has sold 4 million copies cross-platform.
That's really, really good for an indie game.
And
Although it's like, can you really? I mean, I guess Cuphead is.
Right. I mean, those terms get blurry at some point.
Yeah. Good for them though. I mean, it's like if any game was going to do that, it would be that game. Like, I just remember first seeing footage of that like 5 years ago and being like, well, I've got to play that.
That's crazy. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Dr. Mario World, the Nintendo mobile game, came out today. Have either of y'all played it, or any of y'all played it?
I did play some today. Yeah. I played like 20 some odd stages of it, something like that. And I played some multiplayer, online multiplayer.
How was
as well. It's fun. Yeah, it's Candy Crushy, but
like
it's
in
also
terms of like you have to wait and.
Well, I actually haven't even gotten to that point yet. Like basically, you have to beat 20 levels in order to unlock the multiplayer in general, right? And then that's basically when they unlock like all of the options of the game. So it really like walks you through the beginning and gives you like unlimited retries and all this kind of stuff. It's also very easy at the beginning, and I imagine they're going to ramp up the difficulty quite a bit after the point that I'm at now. But I mean, as far as a mobile Nintendo game is concerned, this has got to be one of the best and the most suited for mobile. You know what I mean? Like
makes sense.
Yeah, and it's and all the weird kind of backwards. Because you're moving stuff up instead of stuff falling down, Tetris style, like the original Dr. Mario, you know? You're moving it up, and then you can drag it at whatever pace you want. It's not like beholden to the kind of drop speed of normal Dr. Mario. But I thought it was really fun, and I think I'm hoping a bunch more friends can play it.
Matthew,
so
did
that
you play
we can
it?
do
just a little bit. I just think it's exciting to have like a puzzle game, a Nintendo puzzle game on smartphones to influence new gamers.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
And the Dr. Mario theme song is just amazing. It's always stuck in my head. Yeah. For the record, also, I am Dr. Peach, who I think has the best style out of all the doctors so far.
You mean strictly aesthetically? The best
Aesthetically, yeah. Well, she's got like a pink lab coat, which I think is really cool. And then, but then also, I don't know if we put this in the news.
No,
but,
what do you got?
They data miners already gotten into the game
know
and found 10 more doctors.
Beyond the ones they've already shown. Haven't they shown like 10?
So there are going to be at least 20 doctors in this, including Dr. Waluigi, Dr. Wario, and then Dr. Baby Mario and Dr. Baby Luigi.
You can't make babies doctors.
I know. I continue to be aghast at how these people are getting medical licenses.
Hauser would disagree with you.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But yeah, it's so I guess they have long plans for this game, and they think it's going to be a big hit. It just came out today, so we'll see kind of how it does. But I imagine this is going to be one of the better successes for them. This could really take off.
Last thing I want to talk about before we get into Devolver Digital and Kate, your job and stuff is there was a leak of some models of the Nintendo. It's called, I believe, I don't have it in front. Super Nintendo World, which is going to be at the Universal Studios at 4 Universal Studios locations. Have you guys, I'm
looking at the models right now. I don't know about what y'all think about theme parks, but I love theme parks.
I just went to Galaxy's Edge.
Oh,
yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to do that.
So I was a little bit upset about the leaks because I wanted to go in there and just like have my mind blown. But then, like, some people started leaking, like, very useful information, like, go to this way to get in this line, go this way to get in this line. So I was like, okay, well, this is fine. Universal Studios, love it, could use an update.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you were talking about Galaxy's Edge, that's the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disney World.
At Disneyland.
Disneyland right now. Right?
Yeah, it was, we got in post E3. It was like a couple days after, and it was right before the RSVP system was closing. So the park was almost empty.
Oh, cool.
My God.
Right. And my daughter got to come with me to E3 this year. Mm-hmm. So I got to take her, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
Like, you just walk in and Chewbacca's walking past you and the stormtroopers. She got to pilot the Millennium Falcon. We did not get to go to Cantina Bar, but she got to drink the blue milk.
Okay, good.
And then just the whole part, it's just, if you're a Star Wars fan, the whole thing, and it's not even done yet.
Right.
There's a whole nother section that's going to roll out in a year or two.
Well, that's kind of what's going on with this Nintendo World as well.
Yeah.
It's because it's like, I think it's starting at Universal Studios Japan.
Right?
Yeah,
and then
they're moving it to the States.
Well, they're going to do it at 4 different Universal Studios, but yes, the Japanese one is the first one that's going to open. And apparently they're all going to be very similar, but slight differences. So these models are probably representative generally of any of them. Mm-hmm. If you're curious, you can go look them up. They're pretty cool looking. And there's one area that's like a Donkey Kong
I cannot wait to see it.
area.
Yeah,
that
same.
looks really cool.
If the renders are what it's going to look like, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, just to kind of talk about some of the renders, there's Bowser's Castle that you go through in order to go to Mario Kart.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
And there looks like
What?
there's like a Yoshi ride where there's a bunch of little Yoshis going around.
And there was it's been rumored for a while too that they might add like a Zelda area as well.
Oh yeah, they don't show that in these pictures.
They
but that
do
would be
show
cool. Or at
Donkey
least I don't
Kong
think-
Country.
Yeah, which I think people that
so
so
fucking
I started
cool.
listening. Speaking of podcasts, started listening to like some theme park podcast
Oh,
where they talked
let's
about
fucking
this.
go.
That's
yeah.
really, really cool, Patrick.
Just to like, because I was like, what is this about? And
Is it
they
like
were
the
talking
Imagineers
about
podcast?
probably the Donkey Kong one's only going to be at some of them, and it's more for kids. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It
More
was
for
just-
kids means like it's going to be great for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
For all of us, the kid in all of us. But the Donkey Kong stuff looks awesome. Anyway, so we have that to look forward to. If you,
sometime in
Sometime.
the 5 to 6 years in the future.
but that
Hey, I
wraps,
plan on being alive then.
Yeah, I was saying. Yeah.
that wraps up all the news and rumors for the week. So yeah, Kate, thanks for being here. And like, I guess just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got to work for who you work for and what your job is and that kind of stuff?
I knew there would be an interrogation with that beer.
Here you go.
No, so I started working for Devolver about 5 years ago. But honestly, it was about the most non-traditional job hire I've ever had. I was remodeling a house. I said to a friend I would like about 10 hours of work a week so I could not think about this house all the time. And he said, hey, why don't you meet this guy, Mike Wilson? And so I did, and I started working with them. Went for a couple beers, and we just talked, and I didn't even walk off knowing if I was hired or like we'd never discussed any. It was just like, all right, I'll see you next week. Okay, what does that mean? And then suddenly, like, I'm getting emails, and so I messaged him, and I was like, hey, so is there like a job title?
Do I work here?
Like, yeah, I was like, I didn't really need a job title, but I figured it was like the quickest way to just be like, do I work here? And he was like, well, what do you want your job title to be? And I was like, oh my God, no one's ever asked me that.
It sounds very Austin.
So
honestly.
much
Yeah.
power.
And then just immediately I was like, special operations, please.
It sounds like a spy or something.
Yeah. So have you held that title for 5 years?
I've held that title for 5. Well, I've shortened it to Spec Ops.
Right.
And now I also share it with John Terrell. He makes our behind the schemes videos. He
Okay.
kind of assumed my title as well. 'Cause
Right.
Before you go too much further, though, can you just explain what Devolver Digital is and does?
So,
briefly?
despite what a couple people on Reddit think, we're still an indie games publisher. We like to pick up smaller titles, but very good titles, very artsy, very something we haven't seen before. Not just looking at the metrics. We want to publish games that we want to play.
Right.
That's
So-
kind of it.
Just to be like, I'm dumbing it down for anybody that, or not dumbing it down, but like, you don't make the games, you help publish the
We
games.
100% do not and could not make a video game. So I guess the best way to explain it is that we would be sort of like a record label putting out, like signing a band and putting
Sure.
out their first album.
Kind of finding talent and nourishing
Yeah.
the talent.
So by the time that you come to us, or we figure out what your game is about, by the time that we start talking, you have a pretty playable game that's not quite finished. You probably need some money. You need some a producer to help you get it over the finish line. You need marketing support. You need PR, and you need event help. And that's about the time that we start talking. And that's if we like your game. If it's a good, like, a lot of people ask, like, what makes a good Devolver game? If it's good,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
good game.
That's great.
Yeah, because especially recently, it's like, and we can go through a list of some of the games you guys have put out, just the ones that are just on the
Yeah,
Switch.
and it's not even all of them.
yeah, yeah,
that I
but it's
listed
like-
here. We'll go over it.
But it's like, for a while, there was kind of this, there was almost like all the games that would come out, like, had this kind of very Devolver feel, right? But even more so now with games like Grease or something like that, it's like, I feel like you guys have expanded quite a bit. And it's now like a very wide swath of different sorts of games. You want to go through some of
let's
these?
say some of the ones that are on the Switch, and there's obviously more on other platforms and more on the Switch too. But we talked about this one. My friend Pedro, Gato Roboto, Katana Zero, The Messenger, Ape
Hotline
Out.
Miami.
Yeah. When's that coming to the Switch?
That's not on the Switch, yeah.
No comment.
Deal.
Ape Out, Grease, Minute, Enter the Gungeon, Downwell, Broforce, and there's more.
Well, we
So
started with
so many great games.
Yeah, we started with so they were gathering of developers, then they were Gamecock, and out of the ashes of all of that, we don't own IP. That's kind of what sets us apart as a publisher now. We don't.
Right.
Yeah,
We don't
I
take
read
your
that.
intellectual property.
That's cool.
But we did own one at one point in time, and that was the Serious Sam
okay.
IP. So then,
You guys did that 2D one as well, right?
everybody at Devolver was kind of charging the company 10 years ago, almost exactly, because it's our 10-year anniversary,
So it's been around 10 years.
to their credit cards and just not really getting paid and hitting that lamp that I have to do earlier. Yeah, sorry. And then they did a little game jam, and that's when we came into contact with Lambert. And then Lou Rousers, and they introduced us to Denaton, who had Hotline Miami. And,
Right.
It's kind of been surpassed in sales, but arguably that's like what made Devolver. And we're still working with those guys.
You still work with Lambert?
I mean, we just published Minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's they're kind of taking their own paths, but that's JW's game, and Rami's out there supporting it. So, and actually today we saw a video IG in Brazil, and they showed one of our co-founders, and they put Rami's picture instead of our co-founder. So yeah, great friend.
Rami is everywhere. He's even other people.
Yeah,
Like you briefly mentioned that Devolver doesn't own, except for Serious Sam, the IPs, and I think that's unprecedented because many big publishing houses will publish the game, but they'll also own the intellectual property
Or some percentage of it or something. Yeah.
I think that we trust that if you publish a game with us, we're going to treat you so well that you're going to want to come back and publish your second game with us.
That's really cool.
But if something happens and you don't like us and we don't like you or whatever, which I actually haven't quite seen yet.
Yeah, people break up.
Yeah,
It's
but
okay.
people break up. But if you want to pack your shit and go, you're more than welcome to.
It's totally
But
nice.
we just feel like, we care about people as people. Everyone you're saying here, like these are my friends,
Right.
and
Yeah.
like I was saying, like I was on my ride here, I'm FaceTiming one of my developers. Like, we love these people, and we just hope that we treat them well enough that they want to come back. And we haven't been wrong in most cases yet.
So honestly, it's a good way to do business. It's like you're not trying to nickel and dime anybody. You're just trying to like be honest, and that goes a really long way in an industry where people are constantly trying to nickel and dime people, right?
Well, these guys, and like I can't take any credit for it. I came in at 5 years ago, exactly at the halfway mark.
Right.
They'd all worked in AAA gaming, other sorts of gaming, advertising, all these different industries, and they were just tired.
Yeah.
They were tired of the same old, and they sat down at a table one day with some beer and said, "How do we do this better? And how do we do this while treating people like human beings, not just money-making machines?" I mean, some of our most favorite personally games that we've published are the least profitable ones we've ever done. But we're still wearing the t-shirts, and we're still very proud of those people, and they're still welcome to come have a beer with us and whatnot. So how do you do this and wake up every morning and put your entire life into your work and be proud of it at the end of the day? And the only way to do that is to be honest, be authentic, and just treat people nicely.
Yeah, well, like even in the instance of like the Katana Zero guy, and what's that guy's name, the developer of that game?
Justin Stander.
Yeah. So like you said, he put 5 years of his life into that game. You know what I mean? To like trust somebody with that, to put it out there for him. Obviously you're going to want to have a really good relationship with those kinds of people,
Well, like I said, I cannot make it more clear. We cannot make a video game. There's only 16. There's only 16 employees at Devolver Digital, and we have a multitude of skills, but we cannot make a video game. And so, these people, like exactly what you said, they're bringing us their art, and they're asking us if we could just help them get over the finish line. We have a responsibility just to an artist to make sure that, we're going to make some money too, and we can all get our boats lifted up because we're all in the same harbor. But at the same time, we don't have to sink their boat to raise our boat up.
Yeah.
I would love to hear more about special ops and what that means to you and what it means on a day-to-day basis. But I also understand, and you said, you went to E3 when you took your daughter, that you do work with marketing and conferences and stuff like that. Is that a fair statement?
Mostly, yeah, events.
Event planning or
events,
however you think
merchandise, the travel logistics of getting this huge Katamari ball of people around the world, things like that. I'm kind of hesitant to say marketing.
Okay.
But yeah.
But
well,
in that realm.
Probably.
I would just love to hear a little bit about like what, for people that don't get to go to these kinds of conferences and these kinds of events and just to kind of know what an insider take on it is, like what is it like to work at or work with people at like E3 or other big events? So
we do, E3 is obviously our big one. We do all 3 PAXs. We do Gamescom. And here and there, we'll do, like, we have a guy in Japan, he'll do Bit Summit for us. We have, was it Indie Games Brazil? We have a guy down there that will do a small presence for us. So we kind of make sure we hit as many as we can. But PAXs and E3 are where it's at. E3 obviously is more of an industry show. Yeah. So we're kind of showing up to the industry there. PAXs are where fans and you see them, they save up money, they carpool, they split hotels. Because I'm a member of all of the Facebook, I don't always post, but I watch all the little Reddits and the Facebook groups and like, hey, I'm coming to PAX South from Louisiana, anybody can pick me up. And a stranger will pick them up, and then you see him post pictures of like, "Oh my god, we had an amazing road trip, and I didn't get murdered." And
nice when that happens.
Yeah, so these kids are just coming from all over, and it's not always kids. Like you'll see, parents that have bought their kids tickets. You'll see a mom who has no idea what she's doing there, but she took her teenage, son or daughter. You'll see cosplayers. You get to actually stand there, and it's like almost like you're reading the comment section, but the comments are all right in front of you.
IRL comments.
Yeah. But everybody's very, very calm and nice.
Yeah. What's funny is that you're describing what PAX is like. And I went to PAX South for the first time this past year. It was in January, February, right? Yeah. And I went to go there because my Twitch friends were going there to have a presence. And this is the first time that I'm meeting them.
Right.
And it was incredible. And it was exactly like that phrase that you said. It's just like reading the online comments, but
it's all in front of you.
But yeah.
And so we can see our developers, they're standing there. And so when they're back at home, most of them have home offices, they're just a couple people teams.
Sure.
And they're sitting there and they're like, do people actually want to ever play this game that I'm making? And I'm going to spend so many hours making this game. And they show up. And we make sure all their travel's taken care of. We make sure their food's taken care of. I have cough drops in my purse at every moment of time. And then they get to just interact with fans. And fans will play the demo. And they all turn, because the devs are always standing right there. And they say like, hey, here's what I thought of your game. This level sucked. This level was great. Oh, hey, this is broken on this level. The controller, borks out completely. So a lot of them leave pretty re-energized. They take their notes, they go back home, they start working on things. Then there's the camaraderie of what we do. We have a group dinner every single night. Nobody's on their own.
Good time for you to bond with the developers that are making games.
Because we don't have a Devolver office. So like
I was going to ask about that.
And these people are probably spread.
Yeah, they might be from Poland, they might be from Sweden. So sometimes this might be their first chance meeting Devolver at large as well. So we have these big group dinners every night, and it's, Devolver, whoever's at the show, and then it's all these other developers. And one of the things, I've said it before and I'll say it a million times, I think that any good testament to what we do, it's not the way that we treat and speak to our devs. It's the way that our developers, this game and this game, talk to each other. And they're complimentary. They're like, oh yeah, I was playing your game the other day. Or one game will wear the other game's shirt in the booth. Or
right.
Like and for me, that's like the fact that they're not competitive with each other and they're just I'm making a big gesturing of hand motion
for
here.
The listeners.
I'm very excited, It's like the way that they all try to raise each other up. That is some of the best thing that I've ever seen. And people will like leave shows and they start crying on the way to the airport and like can't believe they're going home.
Well, I think that's something that's pretty uniquely Austin as well that I've found. And I think it's something that like, cause it's like, you guys are all based here for the most part, like Devolver.
No,
right?
4 or 5.
Oh, really? Only 4 or 5.
There's no central
We've
office.
got
You just spread around.
A couple in China. We've got Warsaw. We've got 2 in London. We've got 1 in San Rafael. We've got 2 in Seattle.
Okay, gotcha.
Canada, yeah,
Well,
all over the place.
I'm not asking for like trade secrets then, but like how do you work
Slack.
with each other? Slack?
It's just straight up.
Slack, some people. Long email threads, other people. Direct text messaging, other people.
So
Skype
all
call. Yeah.
over the place.
Yeah, we just kind of stay online all the time.
Cool.
Well, it's good. I do think it's like, it makes sense though what you're saying about the collaboration, right? It's like, and it's something that, I think a lot of these developers are happy to have the Devolver name slapped on it, because it's just like, you guys have been known to put out pretty quality games at this point. Like, can't remember the last stinker you guys published, if ever, really, honestly.
I was about to say, which one? Which one's done?
No, but that's what I'm saying, right? It's like, there's like a standard of quality that's like expected right now. And I think just having the name there helps. And then like when everybody's wearing the shirts of everybody else, that can only help other people.
Well, we hope that the name lending helps, but at the end of the day, like we want it to make, we always have to be very careful. We do not make games.
Right.
Doinksoft made Gato Roboto. ASCIIsoft made Katana Zero. Denaton made Hotline Miami. Free Lives made Broforce, Genital Jousting, and the upcoming Gorn. Like, number one.
Genital Jousting
imagine,
is so fun.
imagine the minds that could come up with Broforce first, and then Genital Jousting, and then Gorn. Like, it's just...
They're Australian, right?
South Africa.
Okay, so that's right. South
Yeah,
Africa.
they have a mansion in Cape Town where they all live and work together.
Yeah, I met those guys at the last Fantastic Arcade.
Just some of the nicest people, too.
Yeah.
Have you guys played Gorn yet?
No.
Oh my God, Gorn is so incredible.
It's a VR game, and you're a gladiator, and you're in a gladiator coliseum, and it's everyone's a ragdoll.
Right.
You get to like rip people's heads off and their arms off and beat them with their arms and their heads, and it's incredible. Yeah. And there's DLC.
Yep.
Allow me to gush a little bit. There's a crab mode where you're a crab and just like chomp.
Why not?
Yeah, it's fucking great. It's so much fun. It's silly. It's in VR. And
well, and even a game like Genital Jousting, like everybody's like, "Oh, this is just the dick game, right?"
Right.
It is.
I mean, that's what I thought when I first saw it, too.
Well, it's couch co-op for up to 10 people, and you play as a little floppy dick, and you're trying to like go through the
You can
cactuses
have up
or
to
pick
10
the roses.
dicks in one game.
You can, but there's also story mode, and story mode is like the most. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I was really surprised by what I saw in the story mode.
So
yeah,
story
it's like
mode,
actually
it's like
heartfelt.
the story of John, and John's alone, and John just wants to find some love, and it's got like a BAFTA award-winning voice narration, and it's the most brilliant, like, I don't want to say skew, but it's like the most brilliant send-up to like toxic masculinity and how men could reclaim their own emotions. And so
and it's a game about dicks. That's
and it's
great.
a game about dicks. But like it's almost kind of annoying to me. Everyone's like, oh, it's a game about dicks. But it's like, I get it. That's your first look. But it's also like the story.
There's so much more. The depth.
It's so much more. It's it's like the actual penis.
And it's fun as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, playing with a bunch of people is really fun.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, I like what you were just saying about being humble about saying, we don't make the games. We want to make sure we give credit to the actual developers. That's really cool. And I think
fucking tight.
That
Well, it happens a lot in like news articles. They're like, "Oh, here's the latest Devolver Digital hit," and it's like I said, I know that having our name attached is probably good for people, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that those guys get credit, and like always, because we have such amazing developers. I mean, I cannot tell you the number of friends, lifelong friends. Like I could call around the world and get a couch in any city. Like we love each other, and I just want to make sure that those people get the credit for everything that they do.
Yeah,
Well,
the indie developer community is like a very like helpful community I've found. Over
It's also
the
a
past
very
few
small
years.
world.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like anytime Arcade comes around, like
went out.
and I go to that. Yeah, it's is it done now?
They're taking hiatus this year.
Oh, really?
Some of the board of Wagos is just moved out of town. We actually just last week went to the last one.
Right.
For the foreseeable future.
Right.
They're
I'm
trying
sure
to
it'll come
recruit.
around again. I mean, either way, it's like seeing everybody come from like all over the country into town and then act like they've just seen them yesterday. You know what I mean? It's just like a pretty incredible feeling.
Well, and
that's
that
part of the reason I
happens-
wanted to make the podcast, is because of that kind of idea with
And to go back to kind of some of the questions here, like that's what happens at shows. So the events team, we show up, 2 days before everybody else. we're at the show floor a day before everybody else, and then we're there for setup day. And you look around and you start, even your labor teams, like the Boston Union guys, you start noticing the same faces. It's like, oh, hey, Ed, you driving the forklift again this year? And like, Ed's driving the forklift again this year. And you start like working with people. And when it comes to setup day, it does not matter what company you work for. You could be, and we don't have any rival, like we don't have any of that, but like you could be that. And we're still going to loan you a hammer if you need it. We're going to loan you a drill. We're going to loan you a knife. Here's our tape. We're all just trying to get set up at the same time. And it does not matter, you know, what brand you have on your shirt. Unless you're G2A. Had to sneak that one in there. So then, you know, like for us, by the time that the show floor opens, and they always have the media hours, especially at PAX's, we're kind of like exhausted. But it's like when you set up a party and you're just waiting for everyone to come in and see the cake and everything, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So we're a little exhausted and we're a little cracked out. But then the first couple of people walk in and they do the, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're showing that. And then we're like, yeah, that's great. And then we go have a very long lunch and we kind of cry a little bit because we're tired. And then, you know, from there on, it's just like so we've already gone through like the sign was printed wrong or this labor squad was late. It's a lot. I mean, you have to get 300 objects directly into the Boston Convention Center, and they all have to come from different origins. We've tried having like a truck drive them. We've tried We've tried all sorts of things.
And the game demos have to work.
The game demos, number one, the game demos have to work.
Seems important.
Doesn't matter if your sign's good. Turns out, and so like you know. I always, like I said, I always 100% kind of remember because like by day one, it's our day 3. And then it gets a little annoying and you've been in that convention center for a long time and like everybody's, So what you have to do is you have to remember why you're there.
Right.
And that's the fans. And the fans, they're paying your salary. They're buying all of your games. You know, they're going to show up. And if you just spend one little ounce of energy, it'll be like, hey, I met someone at Devolver and they were super nice to me. And, you know, for us, it's like, we've met so many cool people just standing at the booth and you're just like sitting there talking to someone. They're like, oh, hey, here's who I am. And you're like, shit, that's awesome. Like, have it. Sure. Let's go talk some more. Which is the best way to network at shows, by the way. Just start talking to people. Don't come at people with business cards. But yeah, so like you always just try to remember, like these people have paid a lot of money and gone through a lot of effort to be there just like you have. They're taking their vacation time to do this and just be cool. And we're all there to enjoy video games of all sorts. Sorry, I went on for...
No, you're great.
That was perfect.
It's this honest, humble approach to like gaming. Like, yeah, we're all in this together. We all love this art form. Let's just like be cool.
Yeah.
Be excellent to each other.
Yeah.
And like celebrate
Actually,
it at
so
these
we
events.
had our most terrible E3, and it was not really our team that kind of went terrible. It was just like the world seemed kind of against us at E3.
This E3 or?
No, it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it just was like the hardest E3 that we've ever had. It was the year that we couldn't get the second lot, and we didn't want to point fingers, but you can Google that whole story. And I walked around. I just finally grabbed a piece of tape, and I had my coworker write "Be excellent to each other" because she has really good handwriting. And it was because we were being mean to each other. I was like, you know what?
Just because like the environment was so stressful.
Yeah.
We all just started snapping and lashing out at each other, and it was understandable. We were in the worst show that we've ever thrown. Behind the scenes, public facing, we were amazing, which is a testament to the talent of myself and my coworkers. Like that's. The fact that everybody there was like, "This is the best E3 Devolvers ever thrown," and we're like, "Yeah, that's it."
You're like limping through.
Yeah. So then the next year, we just like kind of reformed and regrouped, and it was the easiest.
Right. I'm sure you learn a lot from experiences like that as well, like how not to do things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if you don't, then you're an idiot and you're
Right.
wasting your free education.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, remember when that sucked? You could do it better next time.
So you guys have your own little space at E3, right? You guys aren't on the floor.
No,
correct?
we used to be at 610 West Pico.
Okay.
Right behind the Hooters.
Okay.
And
Shout out to Hooters.
well, there's a delightful Mexican food restaurant. I could never. next door, and I could never understand what we didn't eat there. And then finally one day I ate there, and I said, "Oh, that's why we eat at Hooters, because we're not really a Hooters company, but you know." So we went back for the buffalo wings and the burgers, and got lovely service. But yeah, they started construction on a new hotel. So we moved directly across the street from the convention center this year.
Oh, very good.
Yep.
That's been helping with foot traffic and stuff? Or?
Actually, weirdly, no, because people just like got into a lock pattern. I mean, we were slamming this year, but like we had some people that were like, we couldn't find you. I'm like, we have a giant balloon floating in the air across the street from the convention center. I don't know how obvious we could have made this.
Right.
But come on in. Would you like a beer? But, you know, people are creatures of habit. Yeah. And it was, you know, we didn't super publicize the address because we have to also kind of combat the Gamer Pass problem. And
of just like E3 has gotten so big because they're selling tickets to it now?
Yeah, they're selling 15,000 Gamer Passes. Right. And I swear to God, I would buy every one of those people a beer if I could. But man, my beer budget is not that great.
Right.
So that feels like it might turn out to be South by Southwest, where you have like freegans, I guess is the category, where they might come and take your beer, but you can't. You want to give beer to everyone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you
can't.
You can't.
Yeah. Yeah, so once they did that, and like I said, I think it's great that fans get to be there. I have absolutely no problem with that, but it's like once they did that, we had to kind of get a little stricter on the door, which has always been a little bit more awkward. But
Right.
I mean, it makes me
like
feel like
one in, one out sort of thing?
Well, no, it's just like we can't, like, am I supposed to be talking about this? Yeah, like we don't do Gamer Passes, which kind of sucks because it's coming from someone who loves PAXs so much. It kind of feels like we're being like exclusive, but like I said, that's 15,000 people.
Right. Well, it's like PAX is where you can have that sort of experience.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, except for I don't give you a free beer at PAX. But you might win an oversized cowboy hat if you come by the Devolver Digital booth.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just sort of like you have to gauge the crowd, you have to gauge the actual crowd, like the size of people that you have, and you have to do the best without being VIP exclusive, you know, dicks about things, pretty much. And you know, we have plenty of people that get onto the lot without any sort of credentials or badges. I mean, I didn't even go pick up my E3 badge this year.
Well, you've got the shirt.
Yeah. Sure. They know me around here. They'll let me on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just that's something that I've been noticing a lot too. Just like y'all's E3, as somebody who's I've never been to E3 personally, but it's like just watching all the news and the coverage of E3, like you guys have had an increased presence there every single year as an indie company and as an indie publisher. It's like kind of not something you see with any of the other indie publishers. I can't really think of anybody else that has as big of a presence at E3 as you guys do. I mean, you guys like show up on all the press conference schedules and everything, you know what I mean? Well, and so it's like, it's pretty cool to see. Yeah. And I'm sure that's got to be cool to be on the ground level for something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it started before me, but it was like, we couldn't really afford to go inside when we started. Show floor space is expensive. And then we started doing these offsite events and then it was kind of like, well, we could have sunshine and free beer and free barbecue all day, and we're like, you know, and we've just kind of done it since then. My first E3 was 2015, and I just could not believe that this was my job, that people were paying me money to be here. Like, I think I even got on the plane. I was like, well, that was fun, and I guess I'll never talk to those people again. And they're like, all right, so let's go to the next one. I'm like, oh, cool. But it was so surreal to be there because it's like, you know, I went and bought $500 worth of rollerblades at some point.
What was that for?
My boss said, I want to see him in rollerblades at some point. Looked over at one of my coworkers. I want to see him in rollerblades. Just rollerblading around the lot. And I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And then, like, later that night, he's like, so did you get those rollerblades? And I was very brand new to Devolver. And I was more importantly, brand new to having a company credit card. So I was like, oh, I thought you were joking. He's like, Ludlow, I never joke. And he was like, have you ever pulled off one of my stupid ideas for me where you've ever gotten in trouble? I was like, no. It's like, all right, so rollerblades tomorrow. So we get to the lot the next day, and he mentions it again. I'm like, oh, I really have to do this now. I'm in downtown LA. Where do you buy rollerblades? Yeah. Luckily, there is a mall.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you
And
like,
they just had.
Do you go to a zoo meet?
it's like a sports chalet, and so but then when you get there, it's of course downtown real estate prices. So you're like, oh, cool. Oh, well then, so I get in there and like, I'm supposed to get the one little pair of rollerblades. I'm like, well, I guess if we're going to get one, we should get two pairs of rollerblades. Well, I guess if we're going to get rollerblades, everybody needs socks, because they need the tall socks and everybody's got short.
Right.
So I just like Ubered back with this whole thing. And then they had a Canada versus Texas rollerblade match in the yard or in the lot. And that was the first thing that like one of the major publications talked about. It's like, and that's how marketing works.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I understand.
Just go as hard as you can.
Wait, did Canada win?
Canada lost.
Yeah, America.
Canada was on the rollerblades and Texas was on the feet.
Well, that helps.
And they actually, so that was 2015. So 4 years later, they had the rematch this year. Mm-hmm. And Canada lost again.
Really?
Yeah. Which kind of sucks though, because he's like the nicest coworker I've ever had, and I love him so much.
Oh yeah. Well, that's really interesting. It seems like there's a lot more that goes into every single year than you would think. Because a lot of times you would think that it's like you could reuse a lot of the same stuff every year, but it seems like it's
different
totally
games,
every single time.
I mean, we do like it's different games, so there's always going to be like a bit of like a change, but like. We had this like deer head that came out with us for 3 years and just became decor. I stole like a little sculpture of a man's head from my mom's house one time. So at the Devolver merch booth, he's always there with that.
Oh, okay.
It's always a different hat.
To this day?
Yeah, but Frank is always still in the booth.
Okay.
You would actually be surprised by how much stuff I've stolen from my mother's house to decorate the Devolver.
It's like his Devolver, the Devolver
like,
feel.
It's a little je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so like, I mean, that's why I love the fact that like anytime you walk into a Devolver booth, it could be any of our houses.
Right.
It's like, I've been to most of our houses. It could be any of our houses. It's always kind of decorated. It doesn't feel like we're in a different environment. It just feels like an extension of ourselves. Mm. And like I said, I stole quite a bit of shit off my mother's front porch at the Devolver booth.
Does she know how clutch she is to like just the feel of the company?
My mother dropped me off at my first Devolver Digital show with all of the stuff, like the furniture and everything in the back of her truck. And I didn't have a company credit card yet. And she slipped me a crisp $100 bill. And she just said, just in case you need it. And there's a whole other story that I won't go into on air. But I ended up having to rely on that $100 bill. And it's one of the best Devolver stories I've ever had. But I will not tell on air.
We will save that for another day.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next segment, I want to talk about the Devolver conference at E3.
Oh yeah,
the, like digital conference.
All right, let's go.
I love it, and I love it because it reminds me. Are you familiar with Party World Wrestling?
Yep.
Yeah,
it happens at Fourth Tap in Austin, Texas.
You know that Fourth Tap has the Devolver Digital games living room there.
I didn't know.
Shout out to Robbie Barber for making that happen.
What is that?
So Robbie and I are friends from like the old days, and he just messaged me one day and he's like, "Hey, do you mind if we like play some Devolver Digital games in our bar?" I was like, "Yeah, what do you mean? Like you need some codes?" And he's like, "No, do you just mind if we play them?" I was like, "Oh no, here's a bunch of codes actually." But he wasn't asking for them. And I was like, "Actually, I've got this whole like video games living room set up." It was the old Crossing Souls set that we'd used for their booth.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and so he's like, "Well, yeah, come on." So I just like showed up and they have this like nook in their bar.
Yeah, it's like right across from the bar, right?
Yeah. And we didn't want to super brand it because, that's kind of...
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd seen that before, but
like,
I
we've
didn't
got
know
like
it was a
some
Devolver
chairs
joint.
in there with our names on them, and then like it's a Steam account that we helped to make with some games. But yeah, so...
You should throw in one of the Enter the Gungeon arcade cabinets.
Enter the Gun Dungeon.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no, that's real too, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm working on that one.
I'm looking forward to it.
I just love the press conference. I think it's great.
The press conference is the brainchild of Nigel Lowry and of Devolver, and then a man named Don Thacker with Imagos Films. Imagos?
Where is he located?
He's in LA.
Okay, gotcha.
And he's just this like super ridiculous, mohawked, crazy dude that always has these amazing ideas. I was blindsided by the first one. I had no idea it was coming. Nigel likes to keep some of those things close to his chest.
Sure.
And then the second one, I kind of got some hints here and there. the third one, I was actually offered. Don was like, "You want to look at the script and like help us?" And I was like, I like had a little existential crisis. I was like, I do, but I want to be surprised too.
Yeah.
So I turned, and then immediately he was like, yeah, I'm not going to show you the script. I was like, okay, good call.
If you're listening right now and you're like, what are these guys talking about? Devolver has like a storyline and a narrative and characters for their E3 conference.
Yeah, they like go from E3 to E3 to E3.
That they expand.
Nina Struthers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Is there a name for this Devolver universe?
Yeah.
The DC
I think you just
it's the press
DCEU.
conference universe. Like it's kind of like a joke that we make all year round. We didn't. I mean, Nigel might disagree with me because, like I said, this is his brainchild, but I don't think we ever thought that it would get that big.
Mm-hmm. It's so fun, and that's what I love about it.
Well, nobody in this industry should be too big to make fun of themselves. At all.
Agreed.
And the thing is, we don't mean anything mean by it. We're not trying to take anybody down. But we're just trying to have fun, and if we can all laugh at ourselves. I mean, some of these things, like loot box coin, it's ridiculous, but we make the biggest jokes out of it ourselves. We also sold a ridiculous amount of those loot box coins. So it's like we're in on the joke, and we're making fun of ourselves too, but we might be poking points of fingers.
Like, I feel like
elsewhere.
especially this E3, I feel like everybody took themselves really seriously. You know what I mean? And so like seeing like not necessarily everybody, but Sony wasn't even there.
It's interesting
and,
because like you weren't there and you're watching it at home and you saw that. I felt like everybody took themselves less seriously, but I'd like to hear more about why you.
Well, it's just like watching watching EA's press conference every year, and even Microsoft's was like, it was like the biggest one they've done so far, and they always put a ton of money into it.
We got 2 hours to talk about games and nothing about games.
You know what I mean? It's just like everybody wants to make the best impression. So seeing you guys come over and just kind of like make a comment on it and take everybody down a peg is like a really nice breath of fresh air.
Like I said, it can't be stressed enough. We're not really trying to take anybody down a peg.
Right.
It's like the whole...
you know what I mean? It's
the whole industry at large like could stand, a little bit of finger pointing. Just like if you go to a rock convention, like a rock and soil analysis convention, like there's going to be like some people making fun of each other there. Like there's no industry that I don't think is too big that we shouldn't all kind of point and laugh and try to pick up the things and try to all be a little bit better because of it. But
except the banking industry.
Except for the banking.
Finance.
Except for Goldman Sachs's annual press conference.
They're too big to.
Boy, is that exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we're also, like I said, this is video games.
Right.
Oh my God. If we start taking ourselves seriously, if you can't see me, I'm making a very revolted face and some hand motion. Yeah, like Jesus Christ, we're having fun here.
Yeah,
this is gaming.
Yeah.
And if we, like I said, if we start taking ourselves too seriously, God, put 2 bullets in the back of my brain and put me out in the pasture. Like I don't want to be here anymore. We should be having fun, and we should all be encouraging each other to have fun. And there shouldn't be any.
Yeah.
That's a word.
Well, I'm looking forward to next year's installment of the Devolver canon.
Yeah.
You just saw a bead of sweat pop out on my boss's brain and realized he had to still write another one next year.
Yeah. It's expected at this point.
I mean, it's if I sounded flippant before, I hope that I come off as we do know that there's a responsibility that like we're not the only people in this industry that are doing good, and we certainly freaking hope that we're not the only people in this industry good. Like that's not the attitude that we have. It's just we could all do better.
Yeah.
But we could all do worse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was
Hell
one
yeah.
talk.
Thank
you so much. That was very enlightening.
Yeah, it's really interesting, to talk about different segments of the industry and to hear about conferences and stuff. I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's
for
stuff
people
that you
that
kind of don't think about how it's put on. It's just something that happens. You know what I mean?
If you want to know more, you can find me on the loading dock of every convention center, of every gaming convention ever.
But don't ask you then.
And if you smoke Parliament Lights, I'd be more than happy to go over all of this with you
that's what it costs.
on the loading dock.
That cigarette brand again was Parliament Lights.
There's actually a question on the sheet. It's like, how could I get a job in the video games industry? It's like, find me on a loading dock. Just start talking to the forklift people a little bit. Make sure you always have a knife in every city you arrive in, even if it means you have to check a bag.
Come up with a title for yourself.
Make a job title. Learn how to buy rollerblades in downtown LA.
It's very useful information.
We have an unofficial Devolver employee, and it's because he cleaned up vomit from a stage one time, and one of our performers puked on the stage at the end of a set, and I just jumped in there, started wiping it, and I was like, "You grab that trash bag," and he just did, and he was holding the trash bag, and I was throwing all the puke covered towels in it. And at the end of it, I was like, "You're hired, but you don't get any money." And so now he just like every single show he shows up, and we give him the shirts, and he brought us donuts for a donut wallet he threw this year.
That's great.
That's
how you get a job at Devolver.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Just wait for someone to puke.
Wait for someone to puke. It's probably gonna be me.
Noted. Cool. Yeah, you want to move on to what we've been playing?
Yeah, so this is part of the show where we talk about the video games we've been playing this week.
I'm going first.
Go first.
Okay.
Go first.
Here we go.
I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles.
Wait, for real?
Yes.
You hop back on?
I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles X on Wii U.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Wow.
It came out on the Wii U. I've been playing it on an emulator. I bought the copy online, so I could play it on an emulator legally. And playing it in 4K like gets me stoked for a Nintendo Switch.
Really?
A Pro.
Do you think they're going to port it? That's like one of the last Wii U games that need to be ported over.
I don't know. It's incredible. Like, playing in 4K is like, it's a beautiful game. It's a huge world. The battle systems, it's pretty fun. The dialogue is pretty weird sometimes.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just like playing any 4K Wii U game. It gets me excited for a 4K Nintendo Switch if we eventually get a 4K Switch.
Yeah. Well, it's like even with the Wii, like the Mario Galaxy games, like looked incredible for being 480p.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I know.
It's like what they could do with something a lot better than that.
And watching Mario Galaxy on the Chinese Nvidia Switch at like a 1080p is like incredible.
Yeah. That's cool. I gotta figure out how to emulate these games.
Yeah, they have Nintendo games in China that you can download on an Nvidia Switch. An Nvidia Shield.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is a Switch
That
podcast. It starts with an S.
Yeah, that was what threw me off. I was like, Nvidia Switch.
Yeah,
I need to Google some things.
The Nvidia Sword and
Sword and Shield.
That joke didn't come
Anyways,
out right.
I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I'm like 30 hours into it. And I don't know, man. It's just so much fun. The battle system's great.
You're already 30 hours. When did you start playing this?
Oh, I started like last week.
Damn, dude.
Speaking of only 1 week and a lot of hours in the game.
Oh, that's true. I checked my Switch. I've got over 55 hours in Mario Maker right now. It's not great. And that's
great.
And Chaz,
hey, you're post-op. You're fine. You're good.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. I got some time to kill. But Chaz on the
I had
Switch
to one up
group,
you. Yeah.
he one up me. He had 60 hours, but then he commented. He's like, "Well, some of that I just left the Switch on. I didn't leave my Switch on. That's all me playing, motherfucker." but yeah. So I did want to bring up something about Mario Maker 2. Something I was shitting on last week about Mario Maker 2 was the online multiplayer, the like versus multiplayer.
Yeah.
And it's still bad.
Yeah.
Like ultimately it's still bad. And most of the matches still do lag, a considerable amount of lag. And you'll get a ton of stages that clearly aren't made for multiplayer, and it's frustrating.
I know we're getting to the good part. It's coming.
And like sometimes like there will be something it's made for one person, so you'll kill an enemy and then you just can't beat the level, and so you just have to wait until it times out, because if you quit you like lose points,
right?
So there's still all these terrible things about it, but I cannot stop playing.
But it's fun still.
It's still fucking fun. Like so many little things happen, and like little interactions that you can have with people online without being able to speak, but just like expressing this through Luigi's body.
Right.
Like really funny. Like
I'm glad to hear you've come around on this.
Yeah, I've come around on it quite a bit. I can't stop playing. I'm currently level B. I'm trying to rank up right now.
And this is the competitive.
This is the competitive one, right? I've not even fucked with
cooperative
co-op. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to me how that would work. But I'm having a really good time with it. I just screen grabbed like a video of I had a great, like, basically whenever there's clear conditions, it works really weird. Like basically whoever clears the clear condition then has like 15-20 seconds to get to the goal before it opens up to everybody else.
So you can just camp.
Kind of. So what happened? There was like a little corridor thing, like leading to the flagpole where I was, and I just straight up bodied like this toadette that was trying to get in, and it just blocked this toadette in the corridor. It kept trying to get around me, and was like very slowly pushing me towards the goal, and like I couldn't touch the goal, but the toadette could have, and so I'm just like standing in front of this toadette. Eventually, they get right up by the flagpole, and that's right when it pops into like me being allowed to touch it. I touched it immediately. I could tell that person was so pissed.
Oh, yeah.
But man, it's like little moments like that really make it fun, right? And make me keep going back. And it's like every time I finish a level, even if it's like a really bad lag one and it's like not very fun, I can't help but just press play again. And it's just, I'm becoming very addicted to
I'm going to piggyback.
That's awesome.
I'm going to piggyback on what you're talking about because I've been playing Mario Maker 2 mostly as well. And most recently, and I want to complain, but also not complain, I've been trying to make a level for Chaz and Chris, and I've been spending a lot of time trying to make a 2-player level as one person with tools that aren't designed well for it. Because you know, you have to clear the level as a single player to actually upload it online, but I want to make a level where you have to have a second player doing other things.
Right.
So I'm making different paths and trying to block them off for different things.
It's tough.
And I'm also trying to test the level as one player, and then I had Austin over and I was getting his help, but when you do co-op making, you have to do it with the Joy-Cons.
It's weird, isn't it?
And trying to test a level with a Joy-Con, we were like, my Mario skills are cut in half. I can't kick this shell up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like,
I tried to make with my girlfriend with the split Joy-Cons, and that was a huge pain in the ass.
At least you can play test with the Mario and Luigi when you do that, but then it places Luigi right next to Mario, and I want Luigi up here so that I can kick him the shell. And then so like, okay, let's just go and then play it in the core spot or whatever. But then I can't edit it. So it's imperfect, but I'm loving trying to make a level for two people nonetheless. It's so fun.
Tip, if you hold minus, it'll start you at the beginning of the level.
Yes, I've heard that one. But there's so many great things, but it's also the multiplayer is like so tacked on in some ways, or hopefully they will update some of this, but maybe they won't. But it's still fun. It's still fun.
They've been really vigilant about the updates with the last Mario Maker game. I'm
Patrick,
sure they will.
I want to repeat a phrase that you said back to you because it's great. My Mario skills are cut in half.
I stole that from Austin. He's the one that said it because we were sitting there trying to playtest this level with split Joy-Cons or single Joy-Cons, and I was like, here, let me try to kick the shell up too, because he's like, my Mario skills are cut in half. I'm like, I'll do it. I'll play that part of it, and then nope, I can't do it either.
Yeah, that's why you split them.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. We're mostly playing Mario Maker. What you been playing anything this past
Kate,
week?
what about you?
My family loves couch co-op, so we've been playing the unreleased Devolver Digital game, Heave Ho.
Which
is kind of amazing because it came from the minds that did Mother Russia Bleeds, which is like one of our most violent video games of all time. And you just play as these 4 like little circles, and you got these big old wiggly arms, but you have to link up and join hands, and then you always try to get in a little bucket together.
Can you say the name of this one more time?
Heave Ho.
Okay. It's
by Le Cartel out of Paris, France. Personally, I got a Oculus Quest right before E3.
I want to get one of those so bad.
Yeah, and then because of E3, I never got really a chance to dive into it. And so I've been going back and jamming out Super Hot. That game makes me feel like such an incredible badass assassin.
It's like first person.
Yeah, it's like grab the vase. I will grab the vase.
What's because the Oculus Quest is great because you don't have wires.
Yep.
And there's no, you don't.
It's a game changer.
And like Super Hot, I assume it's like super immersive. It's super great for that type of game.
So I love VR. The problem has been, okay, you need the giant PC to play it, which most people don't have gaming PCs anymore. Then you need a friend to spot you. Which is always kind of difficult because most people don't play games with their friends in their room.
And you've got headphones in, so you can't hear
and you've got
them
their
anyway.
headphones in, and you can't hear. So, Oculus and the wires, of course, like if you're playing by yourself, you're still going to trip over a wire. I mean, the number of people with Gorn that we've had, like, sending in pictures of busted TV screens. Even if the kids are at school, I have a dog, and my dog's like, what are you doing, Mom? And, like, I trip over my dog.
I'm playing Gorn.
Yeah, I'm playing Gorn. So, my friend Sai taught me this trick. You get a VR rug. and it's like a rug of a special feel, so you can 100% feel when you're stepping off of
like
it.
a tactile.
That's your boundary. You play barefoot or with your socks on, and that's your boundary. But and then between that and then just having the wireless, like, it's been incredible.
That's awesome.
And I met the guys from Super Hot, like, a South by Southwest show a long time ago. Two of the nicest Polish dudes. They probably don't even remember me, but I like them. And that game is just like, it's gotten so much more sophisticated. It's brilliant. It's like, you're looking at it, you're like, this is so simple.
It's beautiful too.
Oh, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And then, it's not a big, loud, shooty McShooter game in your head. It's just this, it's almost kind of meditative a little bit.
I feel like anybody can pick up and play that game too. Like, I know a lot of people that don't really play games that loved playing that in VR, right? Because it's just so intuitive.
Yeah, it was good on the PC. I think it sings in VR.
Yeah, same.
It's one of my, like, so a lot of my friends don't have VR, and so whenever anybody comes over, I'm like, spend 15 minutes just looking at some stuff, and we're always like, okay, here's Beat Saber. And if you like Beat Saber, then you will like Super Hot. And so I've been playing a lot of Super Hot by myself. Probably tragically shitted it. I would not make a good assassin, apparently. But I'm working on it.
Very good.
Do my best, guys.
Getting better.
And then little plug time. Do you know when Heave Ho is supposed to release?
Ooh, I actually don't off the top of my head, but I know it's soon.
Yeah, I think last I heard was just summer. Is that still probably no official date as of now?
Yeah, you took my breath away.
I'll take it.
Summer.
Cool.
I know it's still summer.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
It's not delayed.
And that's going to the Switch as well, right?
It's listed at least on Wikipedia.
Oh, yeah. You should hire me.
Trust Wikipedia.
I just thought about like our entire lineup, and I'm like, most of them are Steam and Switch right now.
Yeah,
So
it seems like you guys do have
a
a good relationship with Nintendo, right?
Oh yeah, they're great to us.
Yeah, that's good.
They're
Well,
super great to us.
I'm looking forward to playing more Devolver games on Switch.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
And there's so many that I haven't even touched that I know are great too.
Well, we're coming for all of your paychecks.
Also,
You are.
I can't wait to give you money for Fall Guys.
Oh my god, Fall Guys is gonna be so great.
Are you familiar with this?
I've seen the trailer. Yeah,
It's our first battle royale.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's the
Well, it's not our first. Well, we have technically Scum,
it's the
so
one-
Yeah,
it's like
right.
a obstacle coursey kind of thing.
yeah. So you're like 99 like beans, kind of. I guess they're called beans. I don't know if Mediatonic. They're out of London. They might have a better name for them. I just call them little beans. They're these little happy beans guys. And 99 at a time start. And if you American Gladiators,
Yeah,
and then
you
like
run
those
through the wrong
Japanese,
hole or whatever, yeah.
It's like the Japanese game shows where you're doing the same thing. It's just
Sure.
these crazy obstacle courses, and then you drop out, and the last person standing wins.
That sounds great.
I can't wait because I would play Halo 5 Guardians mods for these type of games with my friends.
Yeah.
And so this is great.
That's
So
fantastic.
this feedback, I'm going to carry back to
please.
London. I'm going to be like, hey, Mediatonic, you need to know.
This one guy from Austin, Texas.
One guy from Austin, Texas
played
says.
Halo 5 Guardians.
5 Guardians in. Headland be like, mate, what are you doing calling me at this hour?
I need beans.
They're not beans.
Mate, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning over here. Just let me fucking
Thank you
sleep, mate.
so much for joining us.
Oh, no, it's great.
What, that was, you feel good about it? That was good, right?
Oh, I'm gonna.
It's your first ever podcast, you
Oh,
said?
I'm super sad about it. I hated every moment
I
of
think
it.
that went well.
Yeah, no, seriously, thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
Ah, drinks.
Now I owe you a Coke.
Peach Pokes.
I'm running out of Coke money here, y'all.
Thanks.
That's what every Austinite says at this hour of night.
That's true.
Thanks to Corduroy for the music. Thanks to you out there for listening to the show. If you want to find us online, we are Super Switchheads at Gmail. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. All that stuff.
All the social media
individually online. Patrick IMPDYX on Twitter and in lots of other places.
And I am Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm Monolith Fiji pretty much everywhere on the internet. And where can people find you, Cape?
And or Devolver.
I'm usually at a bar, but I am major boredom on most things.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. This was a blast. Make sure you check out some of Devolver's stuff on the Switch. If you haven't already, I mean, chances are you already have.
Good
and by the way, they did not pay for all of this free Devolver Digital advertising. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Well,
No,
cool.
we're
They even gave
legitimately
me a
fans.
beer.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my God, you're right.
We need to rethink our model, yo. All right. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Next week we'll be talking Splatoon, right? It's the end of
That's
Splatoon.
right.
Heck yeah.
Splatoon.
Yeah, so join us next week. Again, we love you guys so much. Check us out at Switchheads on Twitter, at Super Switchheads on Instagram. We love you guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.